This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Ease, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery. But as you're learning, Ease is more than just the best place online for legal marijuana delivery that complies entirely with California state law. They're also a must-visit source of industry insight and analysis, which you can find over at ease.com/blog. And they're a company that cares about doing good while it does well, which is why they're giving $1 million over the next 3 years to various Bay Area groups that are working to make the world a more socially equal place. One of those groups is, as I mentioned on Monday, the Hood Incubator, which focuses on increasing the number of Black and Brown entrepreneurs and workers within the legal cannabis industry. You can learn more about the Hood Incubator over at hoodincubator.org and more about all the cool things Ease does besides providing awesome legal cannabis delivery over at ease.com/blog. And of course, if you live in the Golden State and want to see what your local options are for delivery, you just need to fire up ease.com, which is spelled E-A-Z-E. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, March 7th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 446 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day starts us off in Massachusetts, where the 5-member Cannabis Control Commission voted to approve the final set of rules and regulations that it will submit to the state legislature to govern the adult use marijuana industry set to roll out later this year. Commission Chair Stephen Hoffman said they intend to have adult use dispensaries up by July 1st, though he noted that the state's system does rely on local towns and municipalities to implement the last mile of the industry unveiling, which could introduce hiccups into the July 1st date. Under the agreed set of rules, Massachusetts will delay awarding delivery and social use business licenses, though as a compromise, the state will award the first set of those licenses to people who have been negatively affected by the war on marijuana. The commission also agreed on a cannabis logo mark that will be mandated for all legal products to inform consumers of its content and to warn kids away. We'll keep an eye on this storyline for sure. Tom Angel over Marijuana Moments has a great piece up looking at the state of Illinois and the new paradigm under which its politicians are now operating within in terms of cannabis policy. As Tom nicely puts it, marijuana used to be a deadly third rail topic in politics, with the fears of being labeled soft on drugs driving any politician interested in staying in office away from advocating for more sensible cannabis policy. But the world is changing. The majority of Americans think adult use cannabis should be legal. And as Tom's picked up, politicians in Illinois, at least the Democratic ones, are starting to fight over who's more in favor of legalizing marijuana. Two candidates for the March 20th Democratic gubernatorial primary in Illinois exchanged words recently on Twitter, with one calling out the other for allegedly being a prohibitionist, a charge the accused denied vociferously. The social media battle came at the same time a poll of state voters showed that 66% are in favor of fully legalizing adult use cannabis, with just 32% opposed. This is a fantastic story to read, especially following the relevant piece on Benjamin Thomas Wolf, a former FBI agent and current candidate for an Illinois congressional seat, who went as far as to release promotional campaign photos that show him smoking a joint. Our final top story of the day brings us to Pennsylvania, where on Monday, the state's Medical Marijuana Advisory Board recommended that dispensaries in their new medical marijuana system be allowed to sell patients medical marijuana in smokable flower form. Right now, Pennsylvania medical marijuana patients can only purchase and use cannabis in concentrate, pill, and tincture form, all highly processed modalities that add cost and time into the manufacturing mix. Cannabis flower, on the other hand, just needs to be cut, clipped, and dried before it can be sold and consumed. The board also recommended adding terminal illness to the list of medical marijuana qualifying conditions. The Philadelphia Inquirer is reporting that the Pennsylvania medical marijuana program has just over 21,000 registered patients in all, 6,000 of whom have been fully certified by a doctor. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Ease, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery. With things still as fresh as they are in the newly opened California legal marijuana industry, it's nice to be able to turn to a site like Ease, because you know that when you order through their website, you're only going to find top quality product at great prices. Ease is very picky about the dispensaries they partner up with in their active areas and expends a lot of effort to make sure their entire supply chain is diligent when it comes to following state law and all the proper procedures required to produce the purest of product. Ease has also gone through the trouble of encoding the entire state of California's different rule sets for marijuana delivery right into their system. So when you open up ease.com, you'll know right away if delivery is available in your area. And don't forget, ease.com/blog is where you go to find all the helpful and valuable bits of insight and analysis the team at Ease has done on their properly aggregated and anonymized sales data stream. That's ease.com and ease.com/blog, with Ease spelled E-A-Z-E. All right, time for the Blitz. There's wonderful news out of California, as the Sonoma County District Attorney's Office has instructed its staff to start processing the clearing of nearly 3,000 marijuana possession convictions. We've reported on this storyline a few times in recent weeks, as a number of cities and counties have made different levels of progress in overturning convictions for cannabis charges that are now legal. CBS San Francisco is also reporting that California lawmakers are considering a measure that would automatically expunge cannabis convictions statewide. It's another one we'll be following closely. New Cannabis Ventures picked up on news that Canadian marijuana giant Canopy Growth Corporation, currently the largest legal marijuana company in the world, is the leading suitor in the acquisition of a pharmaceutical company headquartered in Spain. The deal for pharmaceutical company Alcaliber SA has a rumored price around the €250 million range and would give Canopy greater access to the European medical marijuana market on top of the pharmaceutical manufacturing capabilities brought to the table by Alcaliber. There are a couple of other firms in the running to buy the company, though Bloomberg is reporting that Canopy is generally considered the frontrunner. Colorado's Summit Daily interviewed Christian Hagseth, the founder of Green Man Cannabis, which operates marijuana dispensaries throughout the Mile High State, and nicely detailed his ambitious plans for expansion via a franchise model. This is a good one to click over to for the full read. Connecticut authorities need more evidence that medical marijuana is useful in treating opioid addictions and is calling for written testimony to be submitted through Friday, March 30th. The state's Board of Physicians will review all written testimony before making a final recommendation to the Office of the Attorney General for review and then a state legislative committee. Open up NBC Connecticut to find the email address to send your thoughts to, if you should have them. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Yesterday, a legislative committee in Georgia approved via a unanimous voice vote a resolution asking the federal government to either reclassify marijuana from its current position as Schedule 1 down to Schedule 2, or to pass the proposed Meds Act, which would ease up the difficulties researchers have in using cannabis for academic research. The resolution was sponsored by House Health and Human Services Committee Chair and Republican Representative Sharon Cooper. The resolution now heads to the Georgia State House at large for further deliberation. The Associated Press has an interesting story up about some drama that went down in the Idaho State Senate this week around a proposed bill legalizing the use of CBD medical marijuana oil. According to the AP's story, a state Senate vote that happened on Monday to scuttle House Bill 577 was invalidated yesterday after the chair of the Senate Health and Welfare Committee admitted that the manner in which it was done violated a law requiring legislative action to take place in open public meetings. This is another good one to open up for the full read. Our final story of the day is a good one. Kind of. Last week, I reported on the troubling case of Alabama resident Matthew Qualls, who was arrested by Etowah County Sheriff Todd Entrenkin just 4 days after being quoted in a newspaper story about alleged corruption and theft by Sheriff Entrenkin. The sheriff's goon squad forced their way into Mr. Qualls' home just 4 days after the publication of that story, where they found him hanging out with friends and making cannabis butter. They arrested him on a handful of charges, including one high-level trafficking charge stemming from the decision by police to include the weight of the infused butter in the charged totals. AL.com, the publication that originally published Mr. Qualls' comments about being paid to cut Sheriff Entrenkin's lawn using funds set aside to feed county prisoners, is reporting that Mr. Qualls was released from jail and offered a plea deal, which he accepted, that will require him to plead guilty to 3 possession charges in exchange for being allowed to go through drug court rather than being put in prison. I said this is kind of good news because it's ridiculous that Mr. Qualls even has to go through drug court. I hope the long arm of the law eventually catches up to Sheriff Entrenkin and he ends up in the same place with the inmates he's been starving to keep his lawn neat and trim. We'll keep an eye on this one. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Ease, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.